Look at this industry. He takes you by steps. I mean, look, you're looking, this is 2008. It was almost $12 billion. It's a lot of power. When you have that kind of money, you can buy judges, you can lobby people, you can do immense things. This is the world that we live in now that's been created. Just watch this scene. This is a game. This is a game that people play.
A terrorist attack kills dozens of innocent people and creates chaos at a Moscow airport. Fact or fiction? It's the scenario being played out here in this popular American video game sold worldwide, Call of Duty: Modern Warfare 2. Dubbed No Russian, in this mission the player goes on a terrorist rampage, helping to massacre civilians in a fictitious Moscow airport. It may have seemed too gruesome and tragic to become true, were it not for the very real events seen here at the Domodedovo airport. More than 30 people have been killed, more than 180 injured, in what investigators believe was a terrorist attack. As far as the video game version, a lot more people have been involved in this violence. The video game was released in November of 2009 by the American company Activision, and in just a few months, sales had surpassed $1 billion. Now, even for people that didn't download the game, just a simple YouTube search where you type in "No Russian" can reveal that segment. Right here, this one has 870,000 views. Now, with so many people seemingly downloading, playing, or watching this game, you have to consider whether or not anybody ever thought that this game could so closely resemble reality.
The issue is we need to know if terrorists or extremists are using these videos or these DVDs or these games to basically apply the model.
There's a way in which, entertainment mirrors reality and reality mirrors entertainment. And there are people who are influenced by all of this, even though the manufacturers always deny that it has any influence on anyone.
A range of public figures came out condemning the attacks. But so far, no one is coming out questioning justification for a virtual version.
A popular new video game actually allows you to be a terrorist and kill people. The controversial new video game is called Modern Warfare 2, and it is flying off the shelves. But is this fantasy game just a little too real? And is it appropriate? Let's have a fair and balanced debate on this Veterans Day. We have John Christensen, founder of the gaming blog /gamer.com, and Jim Steyer, founder and CEO of Common Sense Media. John, a lot of people have a problem, though, where you get to essentially be a terrorist and kill people, and it's very realistic.
It is definitely realistic, Steve. But I think a lot of people don't seem to understand. You're not actually a terrorist. You're a CIA undercover agent. You are infiltrating a terrorist organization. And the game specifically says that when you go into, when you work with this terrorist organization, you are you are a CIA operative, and
right. Well, you can join the enemy in a terrorist attack on an airport, and so Jim, some people are saying, and you brought up the good thing. At what age is it appropriate? Then again, is it ever appropriate to assimilate killing people?
Well, that is a good question, and you have to decide that for yourself.
89% of top-selling video games contain violent content. Half of it is of a serious nature. Highly criticized video game Grand Theft Auto, which was actually developed by some criminals. They were real criminals, drug dealers. They came up with this idea. You get points by killing policemen. And then they wonder why all these, violence towards police, right? And then the police react. It's a two-way street in America. If you notice, in a lot of these situations, they completely disregard the police. They don't do what they tell them. They say, get on the ground. They don't get on the ground. It's a major problem. And the police use excessive force, especially against African Americans. It's a horrific situation that we have in the United States against poor people. These police forces, and now they're giving them commando equipment. They look like they just got off the desert war. Right? They have tanks in small towns in America. Shaitan gets you little by little, step by step. We used to have policemen that didn't carry guns in the United States. England used to have policemen, they didn't carry guns. They called them bobbies. You asked them a question. Right? Now they have Uzis or whatever they're using. They don't use Uzi. I don't know what their gun is, what their weapon of mass destruction of choice is in England. You know. The game grossed $300 million in the United States by the end of 2002. Now we're in the billions. It was banned in Australia. Good for them. You know, good for the Aussies.
Pretty shocking story. A college student trying to play out one of the world's most popular and violent video games in real life. The young man stole a car and went on a spree straight out of Grand Theft Auto. And ABC John Morrow has all the details on that crime-filled night.
Police say Zachary Burgess, seen here in his booking photo, stole a pickup truck and went on a dangerous joyride Saturday night in Baton Rouge. All they say because he failed to separate fantasy from reality.
Zachary had stated to officers he had been playing the video game Grand Theft Auto and wanted to see if it was as fun in real life. Zachary sees a vehicle running in the parking lot. There's a female passenger inside the car. He then jumps into the car.
Police allege in the process Burgess smashed into 9 cars, sending 2 people to the hospital.
He wouldn't speak to me, he wouldn't look at me. It was like he was in the zone.
The woman eventually jumped out before Burgess allegedly slammed through this fence and into a wall.
I sprinted out here, just watched him caught up on the brick wall here, spinning the tires.
Last year in Albuquerque, an 11-year-old boy, allegedly inspired by Grand Theft Auto, stole his family's car. He could barely see over the wheel. Police were able to stop the vehicle before there was an accident.
We're seeing cases of kids emulating these games because the games are so realistic. They want the sensation of the real experience in real life.
This morning, Burgess is out on bond, charged with stealing the car along with kidnapping and 9 counts of hit and run.
Retired Army Lieutenant Colonel David Grossman, who simulated violence.
It's a criminal simulator, a murder simulator.
Yeah, Evan Ramsey, others like some of these other killers, Dylan Klebold, Eric Harris of Columbine, were steeped in these games. Adam Lanza.
The Norway killer trained on those. He said he trained on them. 69 dead on an island in Norway, and he spent a year training on video games to prepare himself for this crime. The killer in Florida, he spent 15 hours a day on violent video games. The most all-consuming, all-pervasive thing in this guy's life are these violent video games. And less than a year ago, the American Psychological Association made a definitive statement. There is a clear, unequivocal link between violent video games, violent behavior. Their blood pressure goes up, their heart rate goes up, violent actions go up. The data is persistent and clear across many different forms. You cannot deny it. It is overwhelming. My book, Laura, Assassination Generation, we outlined the dissenting opinions in that case. There's much more to this situation that we need to understand. You know, Clarence Thomas and Stephen Breyer, the most liberal, most conservative justice, dissented. Stephen Breyer said they use these to train military. I'm not a medical expert, but I know who is, and it's not the people the video game industry put out. You need to know more about that case. The data is so overwhelming. A great book, Inside the Mind of a Teen Killer. The new factor in every single case. The new factor. The fact that violent crime is down is not true. We do it with law enforcement and military training. We use simulators. You don't see it in Ranger School, but you see it as an integral part of our training. To make killing a conditioned response is part of modern training. We've got to do it. Healthy people have to be trained to kill, and the video games do the same thing to the kids.
The effects of video gaming. This is one of the big plagues on our civilization. I'm talking about global civilization. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry with massive resources and power now. This is incredibly harmful. It's people die from this. There was a Japanese boy who gamed until he had a heart attack. People die from this. It's true there are only a small number of people that are going to get addicted in that way. But this is what Islam is, a rahmah to people. So it prohibits things that are harmful. Anybody who studied fiqh knows there's a section on bay'. It's prohibited to sell alatul lahu. It's haram to sell games. You can make your own games, you know, like play games, children play games, rocks and stones. Little kids, they don't care what you give them. But to sell things and make money off lahu is prohibited in our sharia. Nobody talks about this anymore. They just think, oh, you can just go and do this and it doesn't matter. You know, this is what's happened to us because Shaitan has taken us by steps. So if you look at these things, social isolation, drop in school performance, obesity, people that game are fatter than people that don't, wasting time, which is a great sin in our religion. To waste our time. It's sinful to waste time. Omar said, Akrahu an ara ahadukum sabahlala. I hate to see one of you wasting his time. Imma fi dunyahu or imma fi ukhrahu. Be doing something to benefit your dunya or something to benefit your akhirah. But don't just waste your time of no benefit. And people say, oh, but brother, this is good for dexterity skills. I want to be a surgeon, and it actually teaches you eye-hand coordination. It's going to help me. You know, nice argument. Violent tendencies. We know this. Financial loss, decrease in empathy. You become less empathic. Average age of these players, 35 years old. What are you doing? Seriously, 35 years old is the average. You know, I'll tell you, I'm gonna make a confession, all right? This is a confession. And my wife will testify to this. When I first got back to the United States, when I left, there were no computers. When I got back after 10 years being overseas, there were computers. All right? I actually met my wife. She taught me how to use the computer. So that's how I met. So I owe computers to that. So, but there was a game called Tetris. And I had never done this before. So I started playing it. And it was really interesting. And I said, oh, okay. And I worked it out. And I don't even know how long I played it for. When I finished, I turned away and I was seeing those images come down. I never did it again. And my wife would testify, I don't play any of those games. I've never played any of those games. I am against those games. They're evil games. And I really encourage you just to give them up and utilize your time. Learn a language. Go talk to the Orang Asli about Islam. You know, go clean up. Get like volunteer groups that do litter pickup on your streets. You know, seriously, go do something useful. Go work out. You know, keep your body healthy. Go play soccer. Go visit your grandmother. Go to a hospital and visit people that aren't getting people visiting them. Do something useful, but don't waste your time doing this. 49% are 18 to 49-year-olds. 25% less than 18-year-old. 26% are over 50 years old. So this is ammat al-balwa. Look at the physical fight. Gamers, 40% of females have been in a physical fight in America, 51% of males. Look at the non-gamers, 14% as opposed to 28%. You know, and they'll say, oh, but you can't prove any correlation, right? You can't prove it. You don't need a rocket scientist to just know the obvious. It's like the study they did in America to find out why pizzas burn people, the roof of their mouth, and then they found it's because the cheese covers the heat on the tomato sauce, right? After spending a lot of money to work that out. You know, I mean, this is the kind of stupidity right? Poor grades. Females, almost 40%, 35% of the males, as opposed to 20% and 23%. No relationship, though, no correlation, can't prove it. Damaged property, 15% of the gamers, 23%. This is people going out and damaging property. In other words, delinquency. 5% of females, 10% of males, which is still high, I think.
A controversial video game which allowed players to assume the role of a school shooter has been pulled from release. Active Shooter was set to debut on June 6, but outcry from survivors of mass shootings as well as an online petition has led Valve Corp to pull the game from its online gaming platform Steam.